Hello and welcome back to Real English with Real Teachers. I'm Harry. As you can see, I've got little Martin over there. You're wondering, who the hell is Martin? Who is that? Has Charlie grown a beard? Has he grown long hair? Is Charlie capable of growing a beard? You know he's not. So who is this little man over there in the corner? And will I make him bigger in this video? What do you think, Martin?
I'm happy to stay here. We did briefly speak about it before. You said just to put me in my place, just so we know, you know, the levels of superiority. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's actually some good real English there. To put somebody in their place. Yeah, to let them know their position. Yeah, to let Martin know I am still superior to him in this video.
You're the big man, I'm the little man. We know where we are now. There's no confusion.
Martin runs an amazing podcast, which I've been telling my students about for the last year. It's a fantastic place to learn English in a fun way. So I wanted to interview him. And throughout this video, we're going to see lots of real English vocab coming out naturally during our conversation. Martin, where are you from, mate?
I'm from a place called Chelmsford in Essex. Not sure if you've heard of it. Oh, you have? Yeah. The V Festival, there's a big music festival there every year. And something that I always say, in 2011, good old Queen Elizabeth said, this place is so good, it needs to become a city. So officially a city now. If you're asking. Yeah.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Since 2011, officially a city. Yeah.
Just because the Queen said, "Why is this place not a city?"
Yeah, well, I'm not 100% sure on how it happened, but let's just use that. Okay, let's just say the Queen came and said, "This is a great place. Let's now call it a city." But don't quote me. Don't quote me.
Oh, nice vocabulary here. This video has kindly been sponsored by ITALKI, who are a language learning platform that we love. This is a place where you can learn languages online. You don't need to leave your house. All you need to have is a stable internet connection, not a very fast one, but an okay one. And you can connect with native English or native Spanish or whatever language you want to learn, teachers of those languages. And you find your ideal teacher, you connect with them on Skype, and that's it. You chat with them from the comfort of your home, from a bus stop, from wherever you can find an internet connection. Maybe not a bus stop, that's a bad example. Maybe a coffee shop.
Good example. Yeah, coffee shop. So if you're interested, there's a link below for $10 discount after your first lesson purchase from italki.com. But let's get on with the show.
But just to bore people a bit more about my hometown, another interesting fact, the local football team was called Chelmsford City. It's in like the lower leagues. And it was the only team called City that wasn't a city, but now it is. So
if we have any football fans listening, that is interesting.
Yeah, I do sometimes say interesting things. Yeah, sometimes.
You do, yeah, and not just on other people's videos, but on your podcast as well, which is I love your podcast. Absolutely love it. So it's called Rock and Roll English, right? How did you get into that? What gave you the idea to start this podcast?
Well, the podcast, the idea of starting a podcast, I'd had for quite a while because I just love listening to podcasts. Always liked them, and I thought, I think I could do that. This doesn't seem so difficult, but the rock and roll part of it, it's a very strange thing. I obviously had the idea of doing a podcast, and I was thinking, what am I going to call this? And I was talking to a friend who is a dentist, and the type of friends I have, just dentists, doctors, sure. And he said to me, "Oh, I'm a rock and roll dentist." And I thought, that sounds really cool. And I thought, if you just say that in front of anything, I think it sounds cool. So that was one of the reasons, because I thought, yeah, that sounds good. And another thing, I just thought, when people use phrasal verbs, idioms, I would always say, oh, that's some rock and roll vocabulary. So just a combination of that. As I always tell people, I'm the least rock and roll person you will ever meet. I like to get to bed early, wake up early. Yeah, I did live a rock and roll lifestyle once upon a time. I say rock and roll. So go out on a Friday night.
You went to a couple of gigs.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, that's quite cool. If you want to reminisce on the past and tell a story. I was a rock and roll kind of guy once upon a time.
Yeah, a long time ago. The classic English teacher of talking about the past, of just doing this. It's just internationally known. The past. Yeah, the past.
Right, yeah.
If a student says to me, for example, yesterday I go to the shop, I'll be like, go?
So on your podcast, you talk about poo quite a lot. And how does the topic of toilet humor come into your podcast?
Well, just because on the podcast we just talk about normal things, and I'm someone that just talks about poo, I suppose. I don't know how else to explain it. Just talk because they're my friends. When we talk in the pub, we'll be talking about poo. Not all the time, sure, but often. And it just comes into the podcast. A nice way to say poo is a number 2. What do you think about that, Dan? I need to do a number 2.
No, don't tell people what you're doing. Just say, I'm going to the toilet. You don't need to go into details. They'll know after 5 minutes what you're up to.
Also a good idea, Dan.
Any big kind of poo stories or poo topics that have come out in the podcast that you'd like to share, that episodes that people should go and watch?
I think I've got one which I don't think I've even ever mentioned on the podcast.
Oh, great. Exclusive material.
Yeah, which is incredibly embarrassing, but that's what we're here for. I had sort of just moved to Italy, and I was sitting at a table, and we were obviously out having a few drinks, and my Italian at that point was almost non-existent, and I had to go to the toilet. I think maybe my nerves of sort of being around Italian people and people I didn't really know so well. And so I went to the toilet, and it was a serious one. It was a serious one, and it's one of the few times actually where I've been out in public when I haven't even had time to put toilet paper on the toilet because it was so urgent. So I can't specifically remember, but I want to say it must have been clean. It must have been, surely. And so it got on there, and the exit happened. And I thought, oh, God, thank God for this. And then looked towards the toilet paper, and there was no toilet paper. And I suddenly thought, what am I going to do? And it was the summer. And so I was wearing a pair of shorts, obviously a pair of pants, which, remember, in England is like your underwear. And I thought, I've got no choice. The pants have to come off.
Okay.
Took my shorts, and I thought, I'm just going to have to say goodbye to this pair of pants. It was emotional. We had a connection, me and the pants. And I thought, I'm just going to have to use these pants to clean this situation.
Yeah, the mess.
And so obviously I had to take my shorts off and my pants off. So at this point, I'm naked from the waist down. And then, because I was in such a rush to get in the toilet, I obviously hadn't locked the door. And then someone opened the door and saw me standing sort of squatting, naked from the waist down, cleaning my ass with my pants. And then I was like, oh, so sorry. Obviously, it was a girl, she closed the door. And then, so sort of sorted that out. And then, I tried to I think the pants went down the toilet. Well, they almost did. I can't quite remember that bit. The most embarrassing bit was then going out of the toilet, because she was still waiting. And then so I've sort of gone out of the toilet, and I was like, hiya. And then I just sat down with the people I was with, like nothing had happened. Obviously, at this point, without any pants. So yeah, that's one of them. I mean, yeah, that's probably the most embarrassing. You can't really get worse than that, I don't think.
That's pretty bad. That's
Yeah.
pretty bad. It's that moment where she opened the door and saw you standing there naked from the waist down. Do you want to show them what that means, from the waist down? Can you stand up?
I can, I suppose. Let me just see where
I want to see how you looked at the time. But you don't have to.
Here's my waist, and let's just pretend there are no clothes from here all the way down to the bottom.
Perfect. Could you kind of give a summary of your podcast, so if people want to go and find it, like what's it about? What can people expect?
One of the things I would like to say it's about is friendship, because like all the people on the podcast, like, I mean, some of the people we've been friends for like literally 30 years. And we share stories about childhood. So yeah, that's one of the things. And just, I always say, if you just want to be like a fly on the wall, listening to two friends, having a chat in the pub, it will be very much that kind of vibe, really, of using natural language. And especially my friends who, none of them are English teachers, so they have no idea even what constitutes as like difficult vocabulary, like rock and roll vocabulary or not. So they obviously just talk normally, and then I'll just be sort of interrupting them saying, oh yeah, okay, that was good. So yeah, just listening to some friends, having a good time, really.
I like the expression of fly on the wall. To be on a fly on the wall is like to observe something. We have a lot of like fly on the wall documentaries.
One other thing that I would like to add though, is because it's a podcast as well, I obviously listen to podcasts myself. And I think when you put the headphones on and you're listening to these people, like you feel like you have a kind of relationship with them. It's like a personal thing, because like I said, you've just got your headphones on, you're walking along. And so I like that side of it as well, to like, I feel like I have a relationship with these people, even though many people I've actually never met.
That's lovely. And managing a podcast beside, a full-time job, that must be pretty hard going, difficult. Like how do you manage that? What's a typical day like in your life?
A typical day is, so I wake up at like 6:30 and then do like 40 minutes in the gym, as you can see by my huge muscles that I'm.
Oh, wow. That's paying off.
Absolutely, yeah. Although that's kind of a recent thing. And then I get back, have breakfast, and then I will do work on the podcast for most of the morning until about midday, then go to work, and more or less from like 1 till 7ish, I'm at work, and then come home.
Oh, that's not too bad actually. So some questions about teaching. I saw you've recently got a qualification you're like a neurolinguistic teacher or something.
Yeah.
Have I got that right?
Neurolanguage coach, I think.
Okay, what the hell does that mean?
This is what everyone said. It's just basically about understanding how the brain works and how you can connect that to language learning, about making things easier for people to understand, as well of, for example, explaining, if you explain an idiom, of actually talking about maybe its origin, because that will actually help someone to remember it better, of thinking like with associations that people can use to remember things. And yeah, this kind of stuff. It was quite interesting, yeah, I must admit. And
has that impacted your teaching much, or the way that you teach on the podcast, but also in your lessons as well?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, and just
no.
Yeah. Well, no, because the thing is, you don't really see it, do you? I maybe someone else could tell me, someone that was like observing my lessons.
But like, do you do like specific, like if you're teaching vocab, are there certain things you would do to help people make these associations in their brain? Or
yeah, well, I probably spend a bit longer on that now,
right, cool.
because now I know the importance of it. And like one of the things that they spoke about is, it sounds like a bit childish to do this thing of like getting people maybe to draw a picture, because you want to connect the meaning and the pronunciation to a word.
Yeah.
So like to put that together to help you remember. And people think, yeah, it's a bit of a, I'm an adult, I'm not going to do that. But if you think about who are the fastest learners of languages, it is children, because they do use those imaginations and do these things.
And it's fun, when
exactly.
you're never too old to have fun and draw a picture.
Exactly. And then obviously people say, well, no, I can't draw. And then I'll just sort of point to what I've just drawn on the board, and just that's not a problem, believe me. It just needs to make sense to you.
But the easiest thing to draw is a poo. So I imagine you have no problems with that. I imagine most of the vocab you teach is related to turds.
Of course. What other vocab is necessary in life?
Absolutely. What's your favorite thing to teach?
Favorite thing to teach? Well, I mean, if it's grammar, I suppose it would be conditionals. I love a conditional.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because you have fun conversations.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah, so like especially second, because you can just say if you were an animal, what animal would you like to be?
That's a class I would love to be in.
But I suppose the main thing I like to do is sort of storytelling, of how to tell a good story. That's something I like.
Nice. And you've got an audiobook, right? About you've written some stories for people to read while they're on the toilet. Yeah,
they're just basically stories of things that have happened in my life. It's kind of like the story I told you. In fact, I don't know why I didn't put that one in the book. That's a great story. The one of me getting caught taking my pants off. The one I mentioned. Yeah. I don't know why that didn't make it in the book. But it's kind of these kind of stories that people enjoy reading, because that's the main thing. Obviously, well, certainly in the past when I would try to actually do more active learning in Italian, and sometimes I'd be reading something and I'd think, this is just so boring. Like, can't I just read something about something funny about normal life, like something my friend would tell me, like a story that I would enjoy listening to.
What's your least favorite thing to teach?
Articles. Oh God. Yeah. In fact, where I teach, there's one specific lesson, and obviously when there's a grammar topic, they try to introduce the language via maybe telling a story or something. And so the grammar point is articles, and the thing that they used to talk about it is microprocessors in computers. So, we've got the most boring grammar concept there is, and if you put that with microprocessors, like
that equals suicide.
So this is one of the things that I sort of tell people, that's just something you pick up naturally. The same for me in Italian. There's some things that I can say correctly, but I couldn't tell you why that's correct. It's just because I just hear it and you just pick it up naturally. But I could, there are lists of like the rules for articles, but like it's impossible to remember them. Like, I don't even remember them. So for students, impossible.
Yeah, it's got to be natural, and that's what like things like your podcast and these stories are so good for. It's presenting language in a natural, fun way, so people can remember. Because it's so boring, and in Italian it's even worse. There's so many articles, isn't it?
It's a nightmare. Yeah,
it's a nightmare. A nightmare is good language. A nightmare, we could also say a ball ache. A ball ache. Yeah, terrible. Something terrible. How did you meet your girlfriend? Was she a student of yours? That's what I want to know, because lots of Englishmen go and use their English teaching powers to seduce students. Were you one of them?
Definitely not. Definitely wasn't very successful with women, let's say, in my past. I think maybe because when Harry was just on my podcast, he described me as looking like a homeless person. Although he did say, give him his credit, he did say a well-dressed homeless person, which isn't really obviously the vibe girls like very much. But luckily, I did find one. You found one
that is into that.
Yeah,
well
loves
done.
The homeless vibe. Yeah, well and just out and like a friend of a friend. We'd been to watch a football match actually, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going home," because being rock and roll, it was like gone 10, and I was like, "I'm just going to go home." And then he started talking to this girl, Alessia, and then I suddenly was like, I think I'll stay around now. I'm having a great time.
Perfect. There you go. And it was gone 10, so it's after 10. That's really nice language, isn't it? It was gone 10.
It's gone 10, yeah.
And when are you getting married?
30th of May next year. 30th of May, yeah.
Okay. And you made a conscious decision to come back to the UK to buy the wedding dress. Is that right?
That was supposed to be the plan.
Right.
But then just before we went, she then went to a shop in Italy just to try some on to have an idea, and then ended up buying it just before we went. But we had planned to buy it in England because they're much cheaper. But then she tried one on and was like, no, this one's brilliant. So in fact, she went to 2 shops in Italy. And the first one she went to, she was like, oh, I think I found the dress. That was in the morning. This was like the day before or something. We were going to England
To buy a dress.
Yeah. So yeah, the day before, she went to one in the morning. Was like, oh, I think I found it. I might get that one. And then she's like, but I'll go to the next shop anyway. And then I phoned her and said, oh, how was it? And then she's like, yeah, I bought it. Okay, well, we're going to England anyway. We're not cancelling that. We're going.
No, yeah, you got to go.
Yeah.
But do you have a nice time in England? Was it a good trip?
Yeah, it's good. The usual. Seeing friends, family, it's the only sort of down thing is I don't really get holidays anymore, because obviously I live abroad, so any holidays you have, you want to go and see your friends and family. So I don't really have normal holidays. Like a holiday for me isn't going home, just going to the place where I grew up and talking to my mum and dad and my brother.
Yeah. So you don't go and explore Italy or go to other European countries and stuff? You're not
not on like a 2-week holiday, for example.
Right, yeah.
Like maybe the odd weekend or something like that, but not like a 2-week holiday to Greece or somewhere like that.
Okay, the odd weekend, that's really good. Odd, we can use that before like another noun, meaning occasional. Sometimes I do it. The odd weekend, the odd day, the odd Thursday, I'll go and play football. But you're doing a great job with the podcast, and keep it up. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing.
Same for you and Charlie with your channel.
Thank you so much.
And you mentioned about, with me working and doing the podcast, but as I mentioned when you were just on my podcast, doing the video editing, I don't think people just watch videos and think, okay, like you press play, great, this is fantastic. But the work that goes into that behind the scenes, so well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, some of them do take a lot of grafting, a lot of hard work, but this one shouldn't. This one's kind of like editing a podcast. So thank you for making this one easy, Martin. Make sure you go and check out Martin's amazing podcast, Rock and Roll English. It's fan-bloody-tastic. Martin, thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you all again soon for another video. Ciao.
Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram to get more day-to-day posts and stories helping you learn English in more dynamic and interactive ways.